Welcome to Humankind, the video series by Momentor, connection tools and techniques for humankind.
Lavon,
Not much, Heather.
you ready to do this?
I'm ready to do this thing.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to Humankind, the video series by Momentor that visits with humans that I find very interesting and powerful. And we ask really just 3 questions of them. 1, share an impactful moment in your life. 2, share some epiphanies that came out of that moment. 3, sharing a little bit about how you're connecting with those around you that are important in your life. And sometimes I ask the 4th question. Today we're joined by Lavon Keister, longtime friend, my roommate way back in the day. And I had a wild, impactful journey away from Michigan and down to the Carolinas. And she was my first roommate. Opened the door. We could have been sisters, and our dads look alike, and it was just the craziest fun adventure learning about the South. So Lavon is from Boone, North Carolina, which is a mountainous area, beautiful area, college town. And she was so sweet. When I first came to the Carolinas, she invited me up for Thanksgiving with her family, and we just had so much fun, and her family was just so genuine and amazing.
And Southern. She's leaving out the part of how we're extremely Southern.
And I remember there are 2 stories that totally pop up for me. One is Lavon was going to get the oil changed in her car. And I was like, the what? And
I don't even say the word around her anymore.
And I was like, the oil. And she said, look, you are in the South now. You best not be making fun of the Southerners. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And the other story that I always think about is, stuffing growing up in Michigan was fluffy and in a bowl and all kind of gooey and soft. Well, stuffing
for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes, Thanksgiving dinner. Stuffing in Boone, North Carolina is made in a pan like brownies, and it's little squares, and they're like brownies, dry, and you eat it with your fingers. I suppose you could eat it with a fork, toothpick.
Yes.
Anyways, very
You pour your gravy all over it with your gravy on your turkey.
That's true.
And then it all mixes in together.
And I was just so amused that the stuffing was in a square. It was just new to me.
I think you called your mom and said, they make stuffing brownies.
I probably did. You're awesome.
You're pretty awesome too.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I know.
No, I'm working toward awesome. I'm not there.
You're already awesome. So Lavon is mom to 1. He is, right now he's 14, but he would say he's 15 because he's almost 15.
Yeah.
And the first question, Lavon.
Yes.
Share with us an impactful moment in your life.
I recently took Heather's parenting mentor class. That was kind of fun to be in a group of other moms and get to know each other. And one of the lessons that we had was on our different styles of parenting. Parenting over, parenting under, parenting with. So I think you gave us the assignment to talk to our kids and kind of figure out, what our style was.
Right. Yeah. So that's the power over parenting, which is a more dominant parenting style, or a power under parenting, which is a more submissive parenting style, or the ideal parenting style, which none of us ever fully have going on for us, which is the power with parenting style.
Which is something that we all want to strive to be.
Yes.
But it can be very hard just because of different, intense situations. And then before you know it, you've screamed and yelled at your kid and you're like, wow, I'm parenting over today. I didn't mean to do that. This was not really a good thing. But
And there's always the aspect of the patterns that we learn, how our parents parented us. When we know better, we get to do better. Mm-hmm. And still we have patterns and things that we carry around and are ingrained in us.
Yeah. So I was taking my son to school the next day, and I was explaining to him what we were learning, and I was telling him about the different styles of parenting, over, under, parenting with, and I was like, when you're in your experience with your friends, we talked a little bit about some of his other friends and their parents and how he felt like they were parenting. And, there's always days that we feel like we're losing as parents. So it was kind of going through a time where I didn't feel like I was winning at all with him on any level. But he actually told me that he felt like, there were days that I would parent over. He said that I was certainly strict with him on certain things. But then there were days that I gave him the freedom to do what he wanted to do and kind of make his own choices and kind of let him go and do his thing. And then there's days that we, talked about things and he felt like we were kind of on an even level. So he actually told me that day that he felt like I was a pretty perfect parent.
What a compliment.
Yeah. Because as you get to know other families with kids and, he's involved in sports and things like that, you're around a lot of other people and seeing how they parent with their kids and the relationships they have. And, there's days that you're just like, wow, those are pretty perfect parents, and that none of us are perfect. We never are. But,
perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. So I found out that day, which was, kind of an epiphany for me to think, okay, I'm actually doing okay in this thing. I'm not as bad a parent as I really think I am most of the time. So it really helped to kind of open lines of communication with him and to know that, I wasn't, affecting him negatively, that he was going to carry through life and refer back to me when he becomes a parent at some point in his life.
When he's in therapy later, he'll come back and
yeah. So,
which is totally okay. Therapy's good.
Yeah.
Therapy's amazing.
So I figured out that I wasn't, completely losing. I am doing some things, I don't know, right, but I guess, I'm moving in the right direction with him, I feel.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So when you kind of opened up this conversation, it sounds like you came from a power with space.
I feel like I approached it that way.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right, and it's so different. When I went through the transformational parenting process, which is the class that Lavon was in and that I teach, one-on-one and in groups, what I find like with the groups too is that we get more ideas as we're in a group of like what someone else is doing, or like the example you just shared too, like you're able to share with Beckett about what you've learned and open up that conversation in a power with kind of way, so that he even is able to see a different side of you, right?
And then I think the very next day I was trying to have another conversation with him, and it may have been a difficult conversation. I don't even know what it was about now, but that particular day I was trying to have a conversation and open lines of communication, and then the comment I got that day was, the only reason you're doing this is because you're taking this parenting course. So, some days it's good, some days it's not so good.
Right. How do you connect with others? Lavon, what's your technique for connecting?
Definitely with Beckett, it's communication and it's keeping things kind of light with him. If there's a difficult conversation we have to have, if he's, gotten in a little trouble at school or a grade isn't, and I've never put major pressure on him to say, I want you to be an honor roll student. I wanted him to be his best that he can be, and I want him to do it for himself, not for me, and not for anybody else. But occasionally there's times he slacks off and hasn't been doing what he needs to do, and we need to have these conversations. So I feel like just sitting down and talking to him, and we talked a little bit earlier about his feelings and what he's going through at the time are significant to him. So the more I've taken a step back and said, whatever it is that he's going through, this is a valid feeling, a valid emotion for him right now. And I'm not going to dismiss it, even if I feel like it's not necessarily a big emotion or it shouldn't be. But I think that that's kind of helped me with my relationship with him, and then with other people in my life. Sometimes when you're dealing with coworkers or, a client that you're dealing with. There's a lot of times that I've had conversations at work. I do property management now, and sometimes if you have a tenant that's upset over something or an owner that's upset over something, I tend to take a step back and say, okay guys, we don't know what's going on with them in their life right now. You know, I understand they're mad and they're yelling at us and they're taking it out on us, but they could have something bigger going on in their life right now that can, you know, support this emotion that they're having or this feeling that they're having. So I tend to, you know, there used to be a time in business when I would sort of take that personally, kind of figure out what I did, and now I'm like, you know, it's not personal. I'm just going to let that roll off my back, and we're going to deal with it, and we're going to move on. So I feel like through this class, that's helped me figure out that in relationships with, you know, family and clients and my kid. And
oh my gosh, yeah, that's really powerful.
yeah,
Do you remember the iceberg analogy?
yeah, about how there's so much underlying, like it's only the tip of the iceberg that we see, but then there's this whole big block of it that's underneath that, you know, you can't even see,
Right.
and which contributes to what's going on, you know, on the surface.
There's an author who I really admire, Mona Delahooke, and she wrote a book called Beyond Behavior. She's written other amazing books also, and Beyond Behavior, she talks about that iceberg and that tip being the behavior, and then all the big part of the iceberg being the feelings and the beliefs and the needs that are underneath that little tip of the behavior. So like
Yeah.
you're, you know, someone getting upset and going off like at you.
Yeah. You never know. They could have
yeah.
gotten bad news about a family member that day, or, you know, like child of theirs, or, you know, their dog could be sick. You know, who knows? Who knows?
It's very compassionate too to take that approach. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh, girl. Is there anything you're experiencing in your life right now, or any like thing that you're super geeked about that you would love to share with the world and me?
Something that I'm working on for me, for myself, is to kind of take a step back and enjoy what's going on in the moment. And if you knew me from before, you know, I was usually pretty anal about my house and housekeeping and making sure that things were neat and clean, and like my house had to be cleaned every single week, bathrooms had to be scrubbed, floors had to be mopped, you know, all that stuff. And I'm finding that, you know, I can let that crap go. Who cares? I would much rather spend time on a weekend and go spend 2 or 3 hours with my husband and my son and go have a nice brunch somewhere and, you know, have a nice long conversation, or even if we're just doing something like going shopping for a new pair of shoes, you know, for the kid or something like that. All that other stuff can be put aside. We're not going to die. We'll find another piece of clothing or underwear or something somewhere. There's enough in the house that every piece of laundry does not have to be done by the end of the weekend. And you know, if anybody walks into my house and they look around and go, wow, this place is really dirty, they're not really my friend or family member anyway.
Right. Judgy. Don't be judgy.
So it totally doesn't, you know, matter. I mean, the house can't be filthy, you know. I'm not there yet. You know, what I felt was important that had to be done every single weekend really doesn't have to be. And time goes by so fast, because the last 14 years with this kid went by in about 14 minutes.
Oh,
Is what it felt like.
I hear ya.
I am striving and working toward and getting better at putting some of those insignificant things off to enjoy some special times.
I love that. That's amazing.
So,
And so important. As humankind, we each travel a unique journey filled with our stories and the epiphanies that come out of those stories. So I'm Heather McElroy. I encourage your feedback and your thoughts. Go ahead and share in the comments below, and share what's going on with you, or if you want to be my next interviewee. It's just a conversation. Tell me that. It's just a conversation.
just a conversation between friends.
Yes. So much so. And we'll look back on this in 10 years and go, oh my gosh,
We were such geeks.
we were such geeks. Look at how young we were. And we'll be off to play bingo or something, right? Thank you so much to our guest, Levon Keister. Thank you for sharing parts of your story and the journey that you're traveling.
And thank you for helping me to kind of open up and, you know, be open to conversations and, you know, things with my kid, my husband, my friends, family, all of that.
You're the best. You're welcome. And I'm glad to be your friend. You're part of the journey.
Glad to be your friend.
So join us again, will you? Check us out on our socials at MyMomentor or mymomentor.com.
Follow her. It's all good stuff. Great content.
Love you, girl.
Love you.